don't refocus on me. Why, hi there, it's Uncle Ron, and Uncle Ron is tired. Didn't realize since look this way. Since I came back from vacation, that I had streamed for 13 straight days, and I think with the exception of that one AFL game, that it's all been the end of the 82 season. And so, you know what? There is no baseball game today. We're down to the American League Championship Series anyway. We have 3 games left between Baltimore, or actually, it's a best of 5. And so we are tied at 1 apiece between the Orioles and the Angels. And so we will play 1 game tomorrow at this particular time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, before I get lost into delving into Dungeons and Dragons. And then Monday we will finish that series. Game 4 will be at noon, and Game 5, if necessary, between Kenny Force and Jim Palmer, because they pitched Game 2, will be on will be at night. Okay, you can just look at me, and I can go here and wait for people to ask questions. Oh, you like my SpongeBob socks? I'll get a kick out of those. How you doing, Fanmatic? Good to have you along. Hope you are well. So, but no game today. I'm tired. Hopefully we're going to do a chat with Al. I don't know. I bought some caffeine, though, just in case we do, because it's been too long since we've done that, and Al has now learned the StreamYard thing, too. So that's what we got going on. Baseball will resume tomorrow, and the World Series will start Wednesday at noon from Montreal. I know that. Steve Rogers will get the call in Game 1. I'm thinking Scott Sanderson Charlie Lee will get the call in Game 2. And then Saturday will be Scott Sanderson in Game 3. And then we'll see. So it's always easier to do that when you have a week to rest. And Baltimore or California, if the series goes the distance, will only have 1 day off. So if it is Palmer in Game 5, if the series does go the distance, then I think it's probably going to be Danny Martinez in Game 1 for Baltimore, and Bruce Keeson for California, or Mike Witt. We'll see. So those are the options. So that's been a lot of fun, and you guys have watched for a long So thank you very much. Now we're going to have, I'm going to look at my bald head for a second. If you got any questions, Phantomatic, now is the time. By the way, since you're the only one here that I can see, you picked up any good cards recently? Phantomatic's a pretty good basketball card collector, and was opening up some good stuff. He and W. Voggs should get together, because they both love basketball cards. Let me get a calendar out for me to look at. I'm not going to share it, but we can look. All right. This highly professional production that we got going on here. All right. So I've got open a calendar, and we're going to start the World Series on Wednesday the 31st. Game 2 would be Thursday. No game Friday. We're back to football. Saturday, Sunday, Monday would be games 3, 4, and 5. And what I might do is just go a straight shot, because my anniversary is Thursday the 8th, and the wife has it off. Not lately for Phantomatic. He's been busy. That's a bummer, dude. Hopefully you get the chance to do so soon. And so if the World Series goes to 7, I'm not doing it on my anniversary night. So that's probably what we'll do. And then I've got about 3 weeks before we get into the NFL season and the 1986 replay. What'd you think, Sebastian Strat, about that, huh? Wasn't Gary Carter wonderful? I was telling someone today in a comment, I really don't root for teams. I don't root for them. I don't root against them. I want the best stories. How you doing? That's my nephew, Dylan. Check out his wonderful channel, as Al says, at Dylan Wertzler Productions. He's a funny, funny dude. So, Sebastian, like I said, I don't root for teams or against teams. Play everything above board. Everything in that replay, as far as games that I've done, you've seen within 24 hours of me playing it if I taped it. Sometimes it's the same day, and certainly most of those were live. But stories I love. And Gary Kyder and the Montreal Expos are one hell of a story. Now, it'd be cool to see him go on and win, but I'm not sure who they're going to face yet, obviously. Baltimore has great starting pitching. I mean, they won one of the games in California, and Eddie Murray hasn't had a hit yet in the series. And California just was very good at everything. They field well, they hit well, and they pitch well. So, but, I would agree with that. I think they do look like a team of destiny right now. Then again, the good thing is when we get to that point, Montreal will have home field advantage for the World Series, 1, 2, 6, and 7, if necessary, in Montreal. But we play with the DH because that's what the rules were back then. And so when in Rome, do what the Romans do. So it's kind of weird. It's one of those things, Phantomatic. I did not expect that to be. I expected it to be a pitcher's duel, but I did not expect it to be like that. Both the last games for both series. I mean, the double plays back to Kenny Forsch for the Angels in Game 2 of that series, and the Dodgers. Man, did they ever have chances? I mean, Fernando only allowed the one run. I mean, how do you look at that and say, oh, you lost that game? But in everything but on the scoreboard, Fernando pitched extremely well. And Steve Rogers, just as Sebastian Strat said before he left, or he might be still here, team of destiny. Absolute team of destiny. Now, can they carry it through? I honestly think having home field advantage in Montreal, I think it's actually a big deal for them, even with the DH, although I haven't thought far enough ahead to see who will do that. The Expos don't really have a lot of bad fielders. Yeah, that was crazy. And Garvey just had a terrible, terrible series. Absolutely horrible. Yeah, he went 0 for the series. One of those crazy things about it. Eddie Murray has gone 0 for Baltimore too, and I had to reshoot the video, but I think he was my American League MVP, and he's done absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, Glenn Gulliver has walked a couple times and singled. You wouldn't expect that. And you also wouldn't expect Palmer to get tired in the 7th inning. As I think I said to somebody in the comments, I thought that Baltimore would win Game 1. Or no, I thought California would win Game 1 and Baltimore would win Game 2. And we've had the opposite. It's still 1-1. But congratulations to the Expos. Jim Fanning, even in Canada, doesn't get all the credit he deserves for what happened at the end of 81. And you even had Rick Monday homering in Game 2 in Montreal and getting struck out coming in as a pinch hitter in Game 3. For the Dodgers, with the DH coming in the World Series, you would have thrown that to Pedro Guerrero because he wasn't that great of a fielder. And you could easily have found a better right fielder to play in Guerrero. But we will see. And if it's Baltimore, it's Kenny Singleton. And, of course, if it's California, I don't know what I'll do. If I'll leave Reggie Jackson in the field or if I will put him as a DH. Well, the thing with Kershaw is that he's only down to semi robotic now, as opposed to that. But man, that's a tough chore, man. Sebastian Stratz replaying 85 in the Mets, won 19 in a row to start the season. I love Action PC too. One of the things that I will do after the season, I had taped it, but I had tried a microphone thing that didn't work. And so I need to retape it because it was cut down at times. I've actually will go through and put on an Excel spreadsheet the real numbers from 82 and the replay numbers from 82 on a macro level. And some things you're going to be amazed how it got right. And there's some other things, however, to be completely honest, that needs to be at least talked about with the game creators. But overall, everything is quite believable. But there's a couple things that were there. But yeah, I love that. And the Mets were just a gosh darn good team at 85, and we don't even need to talk about 86, okay? Let's see. So that's going on. The AFL replay will resume next Friday, and then should be a regular Friday thing through the month of August at least. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do once we start the football season. Again, I don't really want to do two football projects at once, but you guys really do love the football. Looking at my numbers on YouTube, it is what people watch and what people watch the longest. And the good thing, of course, with StreamYard is that we can continue to do the collaborative projects, whether it's hockey on Dave Gardner's channel or football. And yes, we know you want me and Mr. Red Sox fan to do a project or do a broadcast together. And I want to do a broadcast together with him. I'd love to do a fight with him. Not get into a fight with him, but do a fight with him. All right. Two things on the docket that oh my goodness. That is impressive. I don't know if how much of the stuff you see live and stuff in the comments, Sebastian Strat, but Captain Carl McGill, who is a regular in live games, did the 68 Bob Gibson replay playing a Strat Sadv, and the numbers were remarkably good, which is interesting because the biggest complaint about Strat-O-Matic is the 50-50 engine. But the ERA was close, and so was the one-loss record. Imagine, it's kind of like Fernando in Game 3. How the hell can you lose when you get 6 or whatever, however many losses he had when you had an ERA close to 1? But he did. Yep, Fanomatic pulls the Dave Gardner. Mets. It's a fun year for the Mets. One project I can't talk about. I need to get some clearance from some people before I do. But it is the retro scores of retro scores. Let's just put it that way. It is the mother lode of retro scores. Okay? And I can't say anything else about it than that because I need permission I need to talk with some other people before I do that. The other thing I can talk about is I picked up another copy of Top of the Stretch Horse Racing today, which is an Excel spreadsheet game. We've reached the bottom of the barrel when we talk about playing games on spreadsheets, Single race advanced version, which technically I can go through. I also have a subscription to newspapers.com. And so I can go back and run any horse race I have the results to. So if I want to run some silly claimer from Saratoga in 1952, I can do that. You want to see Glue Factory run? I can do that. Are you guys familiar with newspapers.com? I can explain that a little bit more. The other thing I picked up from that is I grabbed the top 100 horses of the 20th century. so we can do some what ifs. You want to see Secretariat run against Seattle Slew and Aladar and Nashua and Affirmed? I can do that now. Good stuff, and to support another small gaming thing. Somehow, however, I've lost my contact information for Yahoo and cannot log into his group. And the account I thought I had for Yahoo, it keeps asking me security questions, and it says I'm wrong. Now, who knows what the hell I put in for. I'm not going to say what one question is, but I definitely know the answer to it, and it's not matching up. No matter how many times I write it in. So I must have someone else's account. I didn't realize how many VT Bubs there were out there. So if you want to see some horse racing, let me know. What else do you want to see? Sebastian Strat just got APC basketball. First game was a doozy, 95 Bulls versus 73 Win Warriors. Wow. 119-118 Chicago. Jordan with 41, Curry with 36, 18 lead changes. Phantomatic says, yes, horse racing. Who's your favorite horse? I forgot the name of the guy who designed it. His screen name is Lon Bags. And just we'll have some fun with that. The two horses I wish that I had were our American Pharaoh and Justify, right? Wasn't he the other Triple Crown winner? And then we'd have all the Triple Crown winners. My idea would be, if I can get the ratings for the other two. Hello, everybody. Would be to run a Triple Crown with all the Triple Crown winners to see what would happen. But definitely some horse race. Okay, I don't need to read them. Triple Crown winner, as a matter of fact. Seattle Slew, as opposed to his brother, Seattle Slaw. And his other brother from another mother, Coleslaw. But yeah, Seattle Slew. I didn't see if Swale was in there. I read over the list, but didn't catch that, because that's the horse that really should have been him and Barbaro were, should have been what might have been. Oh, take the comment off the screen, Ron. So that one. You jackass. So if Al goes to Suffolk and puts a $5 on Frosty Rump Lover, that's his favorite horse. Of course, with that name, he's probably bringing it home with him. That's funny. That's funny. So yeah. So horse racing we can add to the arsenal. Like I said, I really want to be able to talk with someone else about this massive haul I just got. Yeah, Bob B. I remember Aladar could never beat Affirmed. That he and Sham, who was Secretariat's rival, probably are the best two horses never to win a Triple Crown race. And of course, Aladar, if you don't remember, Seattle Slew won it was 77 for Seattle Slew, right? And 78, of course, was Affirmed in Aladar. So one of those rare times where you had back-to-back Triple Crown winners, and Aladar just could never break through. And so I got Sports Illustrated at the time and couldn't wait to get Steve Cawthon's mug off the thing. Of course, swimsuit issues weren't coming out that time either. Al asks, what horse racing game do I have? I got top of the stretch single raced advanced version, which essentially means that I can find any horse race that I can find the access to of how they finished and what the odds were. Pump it into Excel spreadsheet and run the race. And the other thing I got the add on was um, the top 100 horses of the 20th century. Talk about scorpion bulls. Dave Gardner is going out for a drink. Nothing you can say can tear me away from my tie. My tie. By the way, Dave Gardner and I, if you have not found the Facebook group yet or seen it on his channel, our podcast, digitaldice.com. We had a nice interview with Craig Wessel from All Star Lineup Baseball. And I'm going to embarrass Al here before we actually, the part that you heard. He loves Al. Well, who doesn't love Al? But he really loves Al. And maybe if Al would play the game a little bit more, he would like that. But really, it really was nice. And so if you haven't listened to that, oh, Dave, you're going to come home and serenade me at some point, I'm sure. It's digitaldice.com. Type that in there, Mr. Gardner, so I can put that in. We have a Facebook group as well, and you can find it now on Spreaker and iTunes and Google Podcasts and wherever other fine podcasts are listed. And so that was our first interview. And I showed Dave, I finally got the ear clips so I can actually listen to that and not have to worry about what my speaker is. And here's the website so you can listen if you haven't listened already. And we encourage you to do so. And so along with that and the proper microphone setup. So I'll be a semi-professional podcaster after this for the 18th time. You too, buddy. Hopefully we're getting together tonight, but hopefully, Al, you're doing well. So take care. So that's what we got going on with that. I'm not sure what we're doing for the next one. If you're a game designer, however, we'd love to talk to you. You can either get a hold of Dave, you can get a hold of me, and we'd love to have you on to talk about your game and your designing and what you did. You can ask a question about anything you'd like, Bob. So go right ahead. All right. Hopefully, if Dave doesn't approve you, I will. But that is great. Phantomatic is a Patreon of mine, too. Patreon.com/Retro Sports Network. So we're doing this instead of a game today because I'm poopied out. Played a lot of baseball the last little bit. And so Phantomatic is now part of the community. And, well, thank you for joining. And Dave is a blast to work with as well. And he hasn't killed me yet. So, but yeah. So now I finally, after a number of shows, finally have all the equipment I should have to do that. So we're waiting for Bobby to ask his question. What else do you want to see on the channel? We have a variety of games. All the Action PC. I think when I do hockey or basketball, again, I would just pick one team and do those games instead of trying to do the neutral game of the week, which we do for the football and baseball. Because for me, that just kind of makes it more fun. And, if I choose the Canadiens, which is really the only hockey team, it gives Gardner a chance to give me a bunch of crap. And Mr. Al. Or the basketball be the Celtics. Or Michael Jordan or something like that. But why don't people watch hockey and basketball on YouTube? You would think, with everything being specialized, we just have a hard time trying to get people to watch all that stuff. Larry Harris, how are you? Glad to have you along. Let me put the... Larry says we are wonderful. So that's the Patreon thingamajig. Oops, not retro. Hold it. Uncle Ron screwed up. Drop the com. Let me retype that. All right. Well, I like playing games where right-left splits are a big part of the game, like payoff pitch, where it comes into play every at-bat. How much does right-left splits come into play with NPNG? Seems like it's minimal. With what little bit I've played of that game, ID Jester and Rob with the exclamation point would be better for that. It certainly affects it with what the pitcher's ability to get people in or out. I think there are some hit ratings that are changed depending on the split. And if someone else has played that, correct me if I'm wrong. So kind of like if you're familiar with APA on those 7, 8s, or 9s, some of them you have a better chance of getting a hit depending on what hand the pitcher is. I know so that's the short answer. So that's the Patreon. If you're interested, like Phantomatic is a patron of my channel, and you can find it. You get me to play whatever the hell you want for $10. Anthony is a good person. Let me tell you a story, because I had him on the Ron Juckett Show. And by the way, we'll be doing more Ron Juckett shows, and the first guest of season 2 is going to be Mr. Red Sox fan. We need to figure out a time for that. Probably be sometime in mid-August. Let me tell you about my friend Mr. Anthony Crooks. If you did not watch the time I had him on, we supposedly have known each other for about 20 years and not realize it. Now, I'm nowhere near where he is in the country. I'm in New England. He's in Arizona. But we are members of the Front Office Football Central Board, and I didn't know him under that name. And so I didn't realize until after Al and I had talked with him that, I went to look him up to add him as a Facebook friend. And he says, not only am I a Facebook friend with someone that has a name close to that, but we have 27 mutual friends. Well, he's not family. Turns out he's on that board, and I was on that board, and so we've known about each other for years. And so I echo Bob B. Open it up. It's a fun game. Rob with the exclamation point has run a ton of fights. Anthony has run a ton of fights, and Al has run a ton of fights on their respective channels. And so it's not that difficult to get into. Truly, all you need are 2 10-siders and a 20-sider, and about an hour and a half to figure it out. Rules are I'm the one that proofread the rules. So if you got a problem with something there, it's on me. It's not on him. Shh. I actually got to go through and pick up the middleweights, and so yeah. So pick it up, and as Bob B says, it's a solid game engine. Anthony would be one I'd like to have on the Digital to Dice, because there's just, kind of like tennis and all the others, there's just not a lot of boxing, good boxing games out there. I mean, if you play on the PC, the last one is Title Bout 2013, and no one's really touched that for years, and it shows. And there's sorts of fighting on the boards. You notice that if you go to any sports gaming message board, it turns into just a poopy fest in a big hurry. Yeah. Yep. All right. What else is on your guys' mind? So yeah, we'll try out the horse racing thing. I want to play that offline first so I can explain it. The spreadsheet to set up your own races is $9.49. I think that's a very valid thing. The games are too long, although I can do a basketball game in about the time it takes me to do a football game. And people will watch football, trust me. And hockey, but I think the hockey is harder to follow, a lot going on. And you know, we tried to do a good job of it. Dave Gardner, who I think is now out for his Mai Tai, is excellent at it. He's as good as hockey as Al is at boxing. But it's hard to convey on video and hard to get that excitement. But you know, I wish it was a little bit different. Dave Little does such a good job doing the basketball games on Friday night, but again, they take a while to play, and it's hard to do. I mean, when I played Stratomatic basketball back in the early 90s, I bought it. Reason number 16,005, I flunked out of college. It would take about 40 minutes for me to play a quarter. And that you just couldn't do that. Not to have people watch. So, but as far as what people will watch on my channel, as far as sports, football is certainly number one. Not my favorite sport, but I play stuff that I like. Baseball certainly number two, and then I would say basketball and hockey are kind of tied, and then the others. You know, I goofied on a video title I did the tennis. I did a couple videos for when I was on vacation a couple weeks ago. And the golf does well. That's a hard sport to do because you don't know what the right format is. And so I've just kind of done the 18-hole match play stroke by stroke as opposed to a true match play. But tennis, I did the instant classic after the Wimbledon final, and people thought I actually was going to show the match, and I got dislikes. And you know, I thought I made it clear it was a simulation, but people just clicked real quick. People at time watched wasn't very high either. So I've done some bowling too. I think I've done 8 or 9 different sports on the channel. I think pretty much everything is done by decided by the dice roll. You start at the center, and then you roll to see who has an advantage. Then the rounds are broken down into 9 sections. If that makes any sense. And whoever wins the roll, you can counter and roll for fouls and stuff, but it's not like I know there's some strategy things in title about, but I'm pretty sure mostly everything is decided by the dice rolls. But if you have, like I said, Rob with an exclamation point has run a ton of fights. Al, Red Sox fan, has done a bunch of fights, and of course Anthony, and I forget the name of his channel, has done a whole mess of them in a couple tutorials. So I would check that out if you have any questions. It flows really well. That's a word that Dave Gardner uses with that. It just flows really well. And if you're a boxing fan, here's a good one. And now with the next set of cards out, you now have 200 boxers. So get it while it's hot. Let's see. Anything else for you guys? No, and that's okay. You know, I mean, tennis is not a big American sport anymore, and it's hard. You know, I didn't want to do those live. My feelings aren't hurt about that at all. I didn't want to do it live because it's a shot by shot match, and they take a while. I mean, it takes about an hour to do a 3-setter. But if you are really not into tennis, and it really is, you're just watching. It's my job to entertain you. But if that's not your thing, then no, I get it. I completely get it. it's fun to play, and it's interesting to see where it takes you. But I think for games like that and classic soccer and the boxing games, I think you really need to be a big fan of the sport to follow it, to get it. And if you're a casual tennis fan, I mean, yeah, that's nice. Um, People watch, you could, since they're not live, you zip through, you find out where the end is, and maybe you watch the last couple minutes, and you go back, and that's fine. It's just something different out there. You want to make sure that you vary the content. Or I want to make sure I vary my content. And if it works, great, and if not, whatever. Yeah, Phenomatic. Oops, as I slide out of the picture, I've had good responses to the golf videos. And I think we did a skins game live, and that was fun because the chat got into that. But I really enjoyed doing the Uncle Ron's Golf Universe, which is taking two golfers out of the courses I have for ASG golf and playing them out, taking your time, going through the shot process. You see my thinking process. You can see the results. The tough thing, Bob and Phanomatic and who else may be watching, is when you're doing a pure cards and dice port and streaming it, is that you don't want to go through. You just don't want to go through and say, well, that's a 64, and we go over here and all that. And so you don't want to turn it into a cards and dice fest. It's just my job just trying to put on to make it an entertaining show. And of course, Bob, and like I said, not offended by any of that at all, is that it is very slow because you got to roll for every shot. So someone like Sampras and Federer, who play rather quick points, you can kind of get through it. But yes, you got to set the strategy and roll the dice. The computer rolls the result, keeps all the stats for you. But it does it in a fast enough time where you can do a shot-by-shot game in a reasonable amount of time. I think the McEnroe board went... No. The Djokovic-Federer went 4 sets. It's the first one that wasn't a straight set. It was done in like an hour and 25 minutes. But you're absolutely right. I had Djokovic set as the computer, but I still have to make all the decisions for Federer and roll them out, and you get 10, 15 shot points. Point by point would be much better. Thank you. We'll be doing more. I'm supposed to do one for Clinton Parks. Chichi Rodriguez and Arnold Palmer, but trying to figure out a course where Chichi would have a chance against Palmer is where I'm kind of struggling with. So no hurt feelings at that at all. But if you don't try things out, you don't know how well they're going to go. But yeah, and the other thing is when you're watching someone else play a card and dice game, you have to use your imagination. I have to use my best to sit there and make sure that I entertain you. And sometimes that's tough because you don't want to say give a radio call, forehand to the backhand to the forehand. Borg finally comes in off the baseline. McEnroe slaps one past him. Then you're going to be exhausted. Plus, you got to play the game. And the cards and dice, Al's going to be the one to ask about that, buddy. That's how I, to look to the second part of your sentence here. And this is not a slam against any game. No angry messages to this. The first few times I played APA, that's how I felt. There's no strategy here. You plug in the lineups, you roll. You decide when to change pitchers and stuff. But as far, so you can't steal a base on your own? Are you kidding? I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons why, Dave Gardner is a great example of that, Phenomatic. He had no idea what was out there. And this really is the golden age of cards and dice or charts and dice sims, because there's so many games out there. And so absolutely, I think a lot of people don't do that. Or those who play on the console, this is more of a nostalgia type thing. We play 70s and 80s seasons because that's our age range. So we know who all those players are. But at some point, Steph Curry is going to be somebody's nostalgia, and they're going to want to play those. You and I might not watch a lot of pro basketball, or maybe you do. I mean, Bubba Husky loves everything Tennessee, but you're absolutely right. And one of the reasons why we did started the podcast, or Dave started the podcast, it really is his baby. I'll get to that in a second, Bob. Because I don't think people know what's out there. You can play a quick play game, and Dave showed a bunch of those off his channel, and I've got classic hockey. Or you can go through and do action PC baseball pitch by pitch. Imagine how slow that would be. That's the way, but now the Merino boards and the master game allows for steals. I've shown off, Bob, if you go back, I think it's not labeled as such. I have a Excel workbook that has some non-APA seasons there, like 50. And that made it go a little bit better. I understand the game a little bit more. But I liked the game. I learned to like it. It was Skeetersoft and, of course, NP3. I learned to like the game. Would I buy it? No. But I've learned to like it. You want to start a flame war on the internet? Strat versus APA. Or computer versus cards and dice. I enjoy both. If I had my druthers and knew that I could pick up for Strat what I've done for Action PC or Roster Card Baseball, which is a game I love, I just don't play it online. I would buy out Strat as far as seasons are concerned. I have zero problem with that engine. But Payoff Pitch is another one I would love to be able to play. But we get into the other issues with Strat. You can go over to ID's channel for hour-long discussions on Strat-O-Matic. Every game has its pluses, and every game has its minuses. And if the pluses outweigh the minuses, or if it's fun for you, that's great. I'm trying to get Mr. Red Sox fan on to talk about OOTP, because okay, I will leave that up there, but I'm going to finish the thought about that, because it's not a game, OOTP, that is not a game I really enjoy. But I don't want to diss it. I understand a lot of people love it. Al loves it. And so, I think it would be a good conversation. Al talks about the pros, and I think there's some pros too. But then again, you don't want, you suck. How dare you don't do this, blah, 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 blah. Because people do that. I do like Roster Card. Bob, you can see that I'm laying down. The legs don't look right. The hands don't look right. And so playing an actual cards and dice game without some sort of helper or computer program is really a non-starter. I just don't have the room, especially in baseball, to do so. And so I knew Roster Card was available. I watched a couple of videos, like, oh, Christ, it's all, oh, poop. It's all, chart driven and that. And when I got it, I liked it, and I tweaked the charge to my liking. I first thought the offenses ran hot, but everything is pretty much right there, and you can work base running advancement or out distribution to your liking. Sprinkle it in. It's a card and dice game. I like the results. I think there's enough variation there with the pitchers and the hitters. I think the errors are pretty much right on. It's not going to be super exact, but it's close. Now, that's an interesting thing, Phanomatic. Would it be based on like the NP3 model of Endurance? Or how would you do that? So, I mean, a Digital Diamond, which I have some issues with as far as out distribution is concerned. But I like the base idea of taking a batter's card and a pitcher's card and smushing it together to come up with a combo card. So I'm interested in on what your thought process is there. So, but as everything, to each their own. Greg Sovan, or Windsor Greg on the Delphi forums, has just released 1970 for Play Ball. And Bob, if you played Fall Classic Baseball, that's also one of Greg's creations. Oh, okay. Kind of like hopefully a simpler version of the Appa Master. Because that would be kind of cool. I think Action PC does a lot of that under the hood, and I understand, however, why people just don't like closed engines. But when I go through and do the video for the 82 replay, I like I said, there's a couple. I don't want to talk about it now. There's a couple things that need to be looked at, but as far as everything on a macro level is concerned, you're going to be amazed how close it is. Absolutely amazed. So they get a lot of things right. So, all right, we'll just do a few more minutes. Any more questions? Title Bout 2, I'm not sure. That's a card-driven game, Bob, if you're into that sort of thing. And I'm not sure what else is out there for boxing games. I know they're working on a PC version for Title Bout 2. Of course, Title Bout 1 was the Avalon Hill game. So that was kind of cool. So what would you like to... So I've got some lunch slots after like a 3-week period where I'm going to be between long-term projects. What do you want to see me play at lunch on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Let's just do that. Try some things out. I mean, if you're not willing to try things out, then that's half the battle right there. So we'll let that one go. So that's a couple things. Oh, that's excellent. I know that they went to the 64-team tournament as of this year's version. Every World Series is a best of 7. Then I'll seed the winners and play a big tournament. Each round of best of 7 to determine a winner. Yeah. So you play every one. And, of course, for those of you who may not know, back in the dead ball era, some of those World Series were best of 9 affairs. 5 and 9. So he's just doing it with everyone from a 4 out of 7 and then seed them all. Like, for instance, if the 73 Mets beat the A's, they're not going to be seeded very high. But the 75 Reds are going to be pretty high on the list, and we refuse to talk about the 86 Mets. Bob, what is your favorite Cardinal team of all time? Would it be 82? So, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm glad that Action PC can now do that for a project. And I think you can now do that sort of thing in OOTP. You can take great teams now and on a historical level and turn them into a tournament. That's important because you want to give people as many options as you can to play the game that you want to play. Wow. As I itchy my nose. Wow. Swept. That Cardinal offense, if you've been watching Al was doing that, using basic strat, I think. And the Cardinals just have zero offense. That is all on their pitching staff. And the Tigers, despite the fact of Roy Euler and Don Wirt, I think, have a fairly decent offense. And the Cardinals had none but a sweep. Okay, yep. Well, that should be interesting when you play that one out. I'm not surprised the Royals beat the Phillies. I think, especially with Brett having that 390 year, there wasn't anyone in Philadelphia that could do that. Absolutely. It made sense. Good pitching stymies good hitting, but not always on the tabletop. And, the hardest thing, I think, to model, in fact, I think it's pretty much nearly impossible. Yeah, I agree, Larry, is intangibles. And I think when you know that you're going to, of course, Detroit had Eddie McClain who won 31 that year. But if you know that you're going to face Bob Gibson 3 times, you got to get over the psychological edge of trying to beat someone that gave up a little more than 1 earned run a game. I'm not surprised at that at all. The Pirates were a very good team in 79. Parker in his prime, Stargell, and they had a bullpen. And Baltimore's was okay, but it wasn't as good as Pittsburgh's. And there was no DH that year in the World Series. It's an odd year. And that makes a big difference. Don't know how you played it, but that would be the case. So, yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of cool. So, yeah, keep people posted how that works. And automatic tarp machines are not your friend. That did hurt. That did hurt. But you had it pretty much won in Game 6 anyway. Yes, both teams were worst to first. And the funny thing about, sorry, Bob, I'm going to bring this up. With the 87 and 91 Twins, 87 was the first time that each home team won their games. So in the best of 7 series, the home team won all 7 games. And you know what? In 91, the home team won all of the 7 games. And so, yes. And Jack Morris throwing the 10-inning shutout in Game 7. And Kent Herbeck ripping Ron Gann off the bag at first. Shh, don't talk about that. I get hate mail for that. So that is fun. All right. So, yeah, a couple of questions. Once the my World Series is over, what do you want to see in some noon slots before we get into football? Just throw some ideas out there. It was one of those things because I was way too young. I was like 13. And so sent to bed because I had school the next day. And I could hear the TV on in the living room. And I could hear Scully and Garagiola talking about it. And I wanted to get to see it because I thought they were going to show it. And I just can't imagine how painful that was. What year did Tudor break his leg, too? It wasn't on the tarp machine, but something like that. They wouldn't let me get up to see Joe Theismann get his leg broke on Monday Night Football either. I heard that one live. I saw that like about a year ago. I'm glad I did not get up to watch that live. Anyway, yeah. So we told you about the podcast. You got an idea for a guest? Message me or Dave. Oh, yeah, absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. And he wasn't ever right after that. But, yeah, he was fast. But that's yeah. Yeah. All right, so a couple more minutes here, and I'm going to figure out some dinner. So while you guys think about that, Let's see. So game 3 will be tomorrow in the American League Championship Series, 4:00 Eastern time, about the time that this started. And then Monday we'll finish the series. I'll go noon for game 4. And if there is a game 5, in the prime time at 7 p.m. Eastern. And so we'll get everyone caught up. So California and Baltimore at 1 game apiece. And just a reminder, I don't mind if people give suggestions in the chat of what I should or shouldn't do, but don't get personal about the choices I make when I play the games. I'm trying my best to A, entertain, B, play the game, and C, be as even-handed as I can possibly be. It's going to happen that my decisions may make or break a game, but I do try to do the best job that I can. So just keeping that out there for you. Don't know if we're doing chat with Al. Depends on what Al wants to do. The worst teams tournament. I could probably do that with 3 or 4. Obviously, last year's Orioles, the 62 Mets. I don't have the 99 Cleveland Spiders. But we might do something about a couple games with the worst. Imagine the Mets in whatever year of that god-awful Tiger team. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Demos is so much fun. And, he gave me credit for the Manic Monday. The 05 Tigers. And really, that's him. And those are fun. And Al does a great job. God bless him. I hope he wins a football game at some point. Dave Gardner with hockey. Rob does a great job. Rob did pretty much all online. It's Rob with an exclamation point. An entire Red Sox single team replay from 2018. Absolutely incredible to do that. He's doing a lot of fights. He plays a lot. He just picked up Soccer Blast from Play.com. So Rob does a good job with that. Sports Time Machine does a lot of good what ifs. A big Yankee fan. He's a friend of mine anyway. So he's very good at that. And by the way, Elon, who is part of our community, real life has kind of gotten in the way, but it has a wonderful set of pipes. He deserves some congratulations. He got a real announcing job for a high school in Wyoming. So he is their primary guy with for football, volleyball, soccer, basketball, and Legion baseball starting in the fall. So congratulations. I hope that's going to be available online. And so good for him. That kid has a wonderful set of pipes, and I'm just absolutely happier than hell for him. Rob is awesome. Absolutely. Tribe fan, he did a great job on ID's channel a couple weeks ago. That was fun. He's a good guy. Oh, you're all so sweet too. Wouldn't be able to do this without your support. I mean, someone said it earlier here, and I'll do the thing for about what other things people want to see over at lunch in that month between the end of while we switch seasons. We couldn't do this without you guys, and B, someone said it earlier. There's just so many sports fans who do not know what's out there. These game companies, even the big ones, don't do, like Strat and APA, don't do a good job of getting their product out there in the masses. I mean, I know about Strat and APA and Lance Hafner games through ads in the Street and Smiths and the Sporting News, along with Larry Fritch's cards and Renata Glasso. Really? Can I go back in time and get a box of 78s for tops for $4.95? There's no requirement to watch live. It's always better to get the contact. And I wish that we could put this chat in the stream kind of like this easier. But honestly, about 2/3 of the people who watch my stuff watch it on delay, which is fine. I just wish that they'd understand, hopefully they get what I'm laughing at and such. to watch full screen. So, those stuff doesn't exist anymore, and trying to get your name out there. There's all sorts of great stuff to be played out there. And, oh, so when do you want to debate baseball demos on that? Get the League of Gaming Voters out there. I would not play History Maker Baseball. Only because it is just too chart driven for me. APBA, you can memorize the results. At 31 is always a fly ball to center field. There's the ambulance passes behind me. It's not for me. But I get why people like it, and I take Demo's word that it's accurate, but all those chart lookups would just be way too much. Rob picked that one up too. And I think Mr. Gardner will pick up Hockey Blast at some point. He just can't help himself sometimes when it comes to things like that. But all right, so that's it for me from today. If there is a chat with Al, I have the caffeine to do that, and I hope that we do it. But this sports streaming continues tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern, Game 3 of the American League Championship Series from our 82 replay between the Angels and the Orioles from Baltimore. I'm not putting that one up on the screen, but I hear you. Who's the pitcher's going to be? It's going to be Danny Martinez for Baltimore, and I think Bruce Keeson is going to go for the Angels. And that's, I think before we go, it's about having fun, and some people don't necessarily always want super accurate. And Al says that, if you want super accurate, go read summaries on Baseball Reference. Phantomatic, are you a big fan of OOTP? By the way, Action PC does have an alternate reality mode in all their sports, and that's not just me playing it. If you're into that sort of thing. I know a lot of people like the tournament. I mean, there's so many different, it's kind of like pizza. There's just so many different ways you can do it, and not everyone enjoys the same thing. I mean, okay, most people like pepperoni, but different. So that sort of thing. Maybe something that Dave and I can talk to about on digitaltodice.com. Todd B., we're leaving in a moment, buddy, but we'll say hello. How is it, Bob? How different is it? And I'll stand for another minute or two to do that. As I tell you that Game 3 of the American League Championship Series tomorrow at 4. Monday would be a doubleheader if need be. Game 4 at noon or 1. Wait, I got Manic Monday. We'll talk about that with demos. I don't want to screw up his Manic Monday. I might do that at 11. I might do breakfast baseball because demos has that locked up, and I don't think my wife has anything. So stay tuned for the announcement about that. And Game 5 would be at 7. So we'll finish the American League Championship Series on Monday. We'll miss Game 4. Yeah, you can't mow your lawn? So Game 5 would be primetime Monday night. That's the nice thing about most of these games is you can use your own lineups and stuff and play the way that you want. I'm a big fan of the as played, and you can see how it kind of affected the beginning of my playoffs. Yeah, and the other thing too, Phantomatic, is we have the bias. We know all the stats at the end of the year. We know when people were used and when they weren't used, as opposed to the real-life managers who just kind of had to wing it at times. Back to work from vacation. Aww. But, yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you can't play with the lineups that you want to play. I don't think the computer does a great job selecting lineups in Action PC. So I've toyed around with them. Or what I did with the Orioles was pretty much because we played A lot of that stretch run was trying to put that in there. The reason why I like as played, and again, I understand that you want to, I'm not a stickler for if pinch hitter X batted for player Y that I'm going to pull player Y for pinch hitter X, or in roster card I try to use the pitchers that go in a game. But again, if somebody's running hot, I'm not yanking that pitcher. And it's good for me for a usage guide. That depends on the designer of the game. And some games do a better job than that than others. All right, that should be fun. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to win. But again, like I said, I'll go back to the pizza analogy. Whatever it is, however it is that you want to play, go for it. For the Action PC, I don't go through and look to see, because unless I'm doing a single team replay, the computer is managing everything else. The bullpens aren't going to be right anyway. But absolutely, when I'm doing 67 for the Red Sox in roster card, and I need to get back to that. I don't look at things like that. I see that, okay, someone used this person out of the pen first and all that, and I'll do that. But it doesn't need to be exact. I'll look to see what pinch hitters were used if I need to pinch hit. Remember, there's no DH in 67, but I have no problem with using somebody all the way, and then you're kind of screwed if you have a situation where in real life they threw a complete game and they get Christmas tree in the second inning. You can do, yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. People will give you grief for no matter what you do. Play it the way you want to play it, and if they don't like it, they can lump it. There's no requirement to watch. So, all right. So, actually, I'm not sure what we'll do. If I'll do Monday night and Tuesday, I forgot that Demos is there. So I'll talk with him. I'm just going to leave that comment up there with no comment whatsoever. And Larry Harris is right. Enjoy your game. You're the one that paid for it. You're the one that has the experience. You do what you want to do. All right, that'll do it for me. Thank you so much for hanging around. Wow, that took longer than I thought, but always a pleasure. I believe the proper words for that, Bob B, are lump it. Like it or lump it. I guess that goes back to a 50s television saying. So, baseball tomorrow, 4 o'clock, Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. We'll figure out a schedule for either go Monday night, Tuesday afternoon, or doubleheader on Monday, because I forgot Demos has his Manic Monday on at noontime. So it might be Monday night, Tuesday. All right. I hope so, Todd. Always fun. Thanks, guys. We'll do this next weekend at some point. I'm Ron Checkett. Hit that like, subscribe, and click on the bell when I go live, and you know the Patreon drill. Just like Phantom Mac knows. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. And if there's chat with Al, we'll talk to you later tonight. Have a good one.